from last year, which shows why we have spent more than what we budgeted. We didn't actually spend more. We just used encumbrances, and then dues and seminars should be good at the 1,500. Discussion regarding services and charges for streets and parks. Hearing none, we'll move next to capital outlays. The largest increase that is in this budget is curb and walk, going from $100,000 annually to $200,000 annually. The reason for doing that is if we're doing 100% curb and walk ourselves, it provides us with the opportunity to get a little more done. We would contract that out as part of the sidewalks program. If we didn't have the $100,000 increase, I doubt we would be able to get much walk done in the time frame that the council and the residents of the city of Delphi would be happy with. So that's the recommendation on that increase. Resurfacing, another increase of $37,500. Part of this is to try to get our budget so that we have close to our maximum match for community crossings grants. Now they delayed what should have been the July grant process for community crossings based off of coronavirus. They're going to reevaluate in September of this year, but they said, at least initially, they said that they plan to move forward with community crossings in 2021. And if we have funds available in the budget to act as our match, then it gets us that much closer without having to do an additional appropriation. We know the money's there. Park landscaping, storm sewers, equipment purchase and rental stay the same. Street sweeper payment, we still have to, I believe until 23 or 24, we owe on the street sweeper. And then payment backhoe, we do have the backhoe paid off. We would like to use that money, that $42,000 in there, for a leaf machine. Aaron, do you want to talk about the leaf machine you currently have?
Yes, Mayor. So the current leaf machine is a 1995. So in the last several years, I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me, but the last several years we have limped it along to the point where it's even broke down a couple times during the leaf season. So I think it's just time that we probably upgrade and get a new leaf machine.
All right, thank you, sir. I guess discussion from the council on this, the capital outlays for the Streets and Parks Department, where we see the largest recommended increases.
So I guess
Sounds like we need it.
the leaf machine sounds like it's getting pretty close to being necessary. I mean, I just know that my neighborhood alone probably has a ridiculous amount of leaves. So anyway, moving on, the urban sidewalks. So with us appropriating this $300,000 that we recently did, and knowing that that'll probably not get used until next year, do we need that additional $100,000 in there? Do you think that? I mean, I don't know. I guess I would be willing to have discussion on that.
I guess it depends on just the amount of curb and walk that you want to get done next year.
We don't use that $300,000 this year, plus whatever's already appropriated for the curb and sidewalk. I mean, that's $400,000, almost $500,000 total that'll be available for next year. Plus, if you increase it by another $100,000, that makes it $600,000.
And then plus we have not really used much for the budget this year, Mike, right? So we almost have a fair amount of money for this year to apply. Or did you already kind of say that?
I kind of said that.
Oh, okay, sorry. I could see it going. I guess my thought would be I would like to see that go away. And then we can kind
Can you
of,
refresh where we appropriated the 300,000 from? I know it came from several different.
I can't understand what you said.
Can't understand the word she said.
Sorry, Gail, could you repeat that?
Use the 300,000 that we appropriated.
pretty
What-
welcome
the
to take it
category
back
you want
out.
to go, like,
I have no idea what she's saying.
Yeah, Cody said you want to see something go away. What was he referring to?
There you go. Now you're
It's
coming in.
big 200,000 for next year, putting it at 100,000,
Cody,
knowing
can you
that.
hear me?
So,
Yes.
so Cody, if I can summarize, tell me if I'm wrong. You would want to see it be $100,000 next year, knowing that we have 300 from the additional appropriations. Depending on how much we've spent, because this was only through halfway through the year, we have close to, let's say, $90,000 from this year's budget that we could apply, plus another 100,000 next year, puts us close to $500,000 that we could put towards curb and walk in 2021.
That's a correct summary. Yeah, I would like to see that 100.
Does Aaron have a timeline or when he could maybe work on the sidewalks?
So we're going to have to contract out sidewalks just based off the amount of work that our street department has right now, that we're short-staffed. There's no foreseeable way this year for us to do any of the walk in-house. Maybe a minor project if we have it, let's say, on city property, but not to the extent that we've had in previous years. So it will be, we've identified the worst areas of town in terms of curb and walk. So really it's going out, measuring, identifying trees that may need to be removed, other walk that's in the right of way that a property owner put in, and where the walk connects with, let's say, a walk going to somebody's front porch. So there's still a decent amount of legwork that needs to be done on that. I know Superintendent Lyons has been extremely tied up, not just with the recent storms, but with the Samuel Millward Road project. But we're hopeful that we could get kind of a bid package put together yet this year.
Shane, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you refresh our memories where the $300,000 that we appropriated is from?
110,000 from general, 110,000 from edit, and 80,000 from riverboat, I believe.
So do we even need 200,000 at all, since we've already got 300,000 appropriated?
Did you say 200 or 100?
Any of it. Do we need any of this appropriated or budgeted into the street department?
I would still like to see $10,000 to $20,000 for stuff that would be outside of the scope of work of the 100% curb and walk replacement. Because if we were to bid that out, then we're stuck with that project, and the money outside of that wouldn't encumber. I would like to see.
What about funds available in LRS for curbs? That money can be used for curbs.
It can. We've tried primarily in the past to keep that to resurfacing, and really the budget for that's $15,000. We do typically use that for hot patch, cold patch, minor jobs that we have around the city.
I'd like to hear if the council thinks we need 200,000 in additional to the 300,000 we appropriated sidewalk. I missed out on that discussion.
Cody recommended having only 100,000 for next year.
Well, if I could say with your latest recommendation, Shane, I mean, I think that having just $10,000 or $20,000 that is better than even $100,000. I mean, if like I said, we kind of jumped ahead with the $300,000 appropriation. I'm okay with seeing that nearly gone for next year.
So
It's
take
something else to
the-
consider would be
10 or 20, what you're suggesting.
Sorry, Gail, could you repeat yourself?
I was asking Cody, so if, just to clarify, he was saying we could take the curb and sidewalk line item under streets and parks down to 10 or 20,000.
Yeah, that would be just I like Shane's input on that, and I mean it's closer to zero than 100,000 is.
I'd like to hear Aaron's input on that, because going forward, it's going to impact him a lot more than Shane. Aaron's going to be with us a lot longer.
Yes, Gail. So on the subject of curb and sidewalks, depending on what the council's wishes are, I would just like to let the council know that the more money you throw at does not necessarily mean I'm going to be able to keep up with the workload. So at that point, we do have to contract it out. And because of the dollar amounts, this type of work would be sent out to bid. So we're going through a different process. I would like to see a little bit left in my budget. If I got to make a repair in the parks, or we have to make a repair on a road, and let's say we've got a manhole. For example, this year we had to fix a manhole on Washington Street, and because of the time of year, we couldn't get asphalt. So what we simply did was busted that out and poured a few yards of concrete around it. So that would give me an opportunity if we have a rare instance where, whether it's a utility repair and we destroy a sidewalk or something like that, that maybe I have the means to do something like that.
Can you give us a ballpark of what you would like to have in there, just as a buffer to do that kind of work?
Well, off the top of my head, without being able to actually tell you what I'm going to do or what I would need, I mean, I think that the $10,000 to $20,000 mark would be sufficient for something like that.
Okay.
We need to
Council,
vote
do
to
we
consider
want to go-
lowering that.
No, I'm writing down the recommendations, and I will reflect that. So at this point, we don't need any votes to officially lower anything. We can do that at the actual.
I'd like to allow Aaron 20,000 just to give him that cushion. Is anybody objectable with that or agreeable with that?
Sounds fine.
I think 20,000 is fine.
Something else to consider, not to further talk about this, but could bid this project out and our estimates in-house, since we're not having this engineered. We're going to try our best to estimate the cost that we think it's going to be and bid that amount of work. However, bids could come back higher than what we anticipated. And if that were to occur, it would be to have a little buffer beyond that 300,000 or 400,000 if we use some of this year's money to cover any overruns without doing an additional appropriation. So we could actually get that paperwork signed.
We have $100,000 in this year's budget, and minimal has been used, and the council requested that the bid process, or the bid process began to lock in some rates. Is there a timeline for that bid process to begin?
Hopefully by the end of the year, Gail.
Right, and I want to address the backhoe payment in that line item. If it's paid for, how do we legally put money into that fund? It's delineated for the backhoe. The balance on the backhoe is zero. I do understand what Aaron's saying about the leaf machine. I believe the quote from Brown was around $162,000 for that. I'd like to see us take that 42,000 down to zero because the line item says tobacco, and legally I'm not sure we can put anything in there when it's paid off. I'd like to see us pay off the street sweeper so that Aaron has the money to continue upgrading his equipment as he needs it. What's the balance for the street department at this point in time?
Land, what's the balance on the street sweeper is 90 some? Do you have that actual
The
figure?
balance in the street department budget.
I'm confused by your question, Gail.
At the beginning of the year, how much money was in the street department budget? Only what's appropriated, or was there a balance left over from last year?
Are you talking about encumbrances?
No, this department doesn't work the same way as like the designated funds, right? It just all comes from general. I'm trying to understand how the like street and police and some of these departments work differently from water and wastewater where they're non-reverting. So the only money he has to work with right now is what's been budgeted, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess what I need to ask the council is, would you be opposed to budgeting for next year the amount of money to pay the street sweeper off? Save interest, take out the 42,000 for the backhoe because it's paid for. And then Aaron, how soon do you think you're gonna need a new leaf machine?
So for the new leaf machine, it'd be nice. Obviously, we're not going to make this year, but it'd be nice to have one for next season. I'm going to try to limp the one that we got currently through this season. Unfortunately, the leaf machine is that's just a piece of equipment that does nasty work, so to speak. So it's kind of hard on it. And I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me, but I know last year it was down 2 or 3 times during leaf season, which puts us in a bind. So I did have work done on the end of the season in preparation for this season. It doesn't mean that it won't break down, but I did do some work and was prudent with making sure that I had it checked out, and I did that. So we're hoping to get through at least this year with it.
Okay. And do you have a rough estimate of the cost?
I should have brought that with me. Do you have that for me?
I thought I remembered the guy at Brown saying it was around $162,000.
No. Leaf machine's not that much.
Okay.
No, that's more like the cost of our street sweeper. I think our street sweeper was like 162. Don't quote me, but I think the leaf machine's probably in the neighborhood of about 75,000.
And how we go about creating a line item or changing it so it doesn't say backhoe anymore, and we could put that 42,000 towards the purchase of a leaf machine.
So that's fine. That was my part. It shouldn't have said payment backhoe. It should say payment leaf machine. So we can change the name of that line item. That's no problem. It does look like the quoted amount, Aaron, was $62,517.
Okay.
Is this something we can switch up from, since we're taking back the curb and sidewalk and then adding all the 42,000? Is this something we can just switch to pay off completely, so we're not paying interest, not paying payments? It's just done and paid for. It's only $62,000, so I don't see why we can't just do that.
Yeah, Land, what do we owe on the street sweeper?
Hold on just a minute. Let me pull it right out here.
If we got enough left over from curb and sidewalk from this year that we're not.
99,177 and 23%.
What was it?
she gave me that this is $99,177.23 we owe on the street sweeper. I'd like to suggest we go ahead and pay the street sweeper off and then change the backhoe line item to leaf machine and put that and pay and buy it. Because we just knocked down curb and sidewalk, $180,000. We have money to give Aaron what he needs and not have to pay interest.
I
All
agree.
right, so we put sweeper payment at 99,200. Backhoe,
Yep.
I would budget that at 65,000 just in case it's gone up a little bit since the last quote. And then we would change payment backhoe to payment leaf machine.
Mayor, if I may,
I'm good with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
can you go back to the leaf machine? So in the options there, you've got a 4750 for a clutch, and then the hydraulic stand. The hydraulic stand I will more than likely get. The PTO clutch I need to do a little more research on. That PTO clutch, or the push button clutch, aids in the event of engaging and disengaging that clutch. We seem to put a lot of clutches in our leaf machine. So I need to contact that. So that's where I got that $70,000 number. So if the council wishes, I can hammer that down and actually see if we need that. But those two options are probably something that would be of interest to us.
I think with
All
that
right,
being
I appreciate
said,
that. I forgot about those options. So we can set it at 72,000, depending on market inflation. Make sure we cover those options.
Yes, and then if it exceeds that, I've got operating funds within garage and motor that I can use if for some reason the percent of increase exceeds what's on this quote that was dated, well, quite frankly, almost a year ago. So,
All right. Thank you, Superintendent. From the council, any other discussion in terms of capital outlays for the street department?
can I make sure, actually, can you just kind of repeat what we've worked on here? I think I understand it, but I just want to make sure.
Yes. The recommendation was curb and walk, $20,000. Everything else stay the same until you get the sweeper. Put that at 99,200. And for payment backhoe, that should be payment leaf machine, and set that. I'm going to say 72,000 to cover any market inflation.
What happens to the money that was encumbered from 2019 to 2020 for a leaf machine?
So if we don't spend it this year, which it doesn't look like we're going to, it'll roll back into the general fund.
And how much was that?
Give me a second here. I gotta find it. About $41,100. No. Sorry. About $28,000. My apologies.
Yeah, to Brown
And that would
Equipment.
Go back into the general fund?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion regarding street department capital outlays? Nope. All right. And you'll get to ask Superintendent Lyons more questions. You got to stay here. We're MBH and LRS. Sorry, did we have a question or discussion? Okay. No, my bad. I thought I heard somebody.
Can we jump to
Moving on to the air.
Mayor Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we jump to LRS and MVH so he doesn't have to sit through all this other stuff?
Yeah, that's no problem. All right, so for MVH, in terms of estimated revenue, I believe the recommended amount was 82% of 2020. I used 82% of 2019, which should put us at estimated revenue of $136,000 in the MVH fund next year. Conservative estimate is that we end this year with $215,200 in MVH. That's if we use our total budget for MVH this year. So it's a conservative estimate. It should be a worst case estimate. Going through MVH line items, here you can see where previously we had taken street superintendent wages out of here. We no longer do. We also used to take garage and motor. We no longer do. Patching and salt, we kept the same at $12,000 since 2016. Miscellaneous supplies, I rounded up another $85 just to get us to an even $2,500 because the $2,415 is an ugly looking number. And then signage kept the same at $5,000. Let me zoom in here so you can see this a little better. Resurfacing, we bumped up about $7,500 just to try to get as much as we can, knowing that we could use that as a match for community crossings, or we could pay, 100% our funds for road improvement projects, and that puts the total MVH budget at $134,500, which is right in line, more or less, with the estimated revenue of 82% of 2019. I guess questions regarding MVH or discussion?
So what was the DLGF basing their estimate off of?
82% of 2020 revenue.
And what was 2020 revenue?
Oh, we haven't got all of it yet. So I don't know how they calculate that. That's why I use 2019. However, our 2019 revenue in MVH was $168,447.67.
Aaron, are you good with this?
Yes, I'm fine with that, Gail.
Other discussion amongst the council? Hearing none, we'll move into LRS. The LGF estimated 82% of 2020 revenue again. Like I said, we haven't received all our revenue, so I used 82% of 2019, which should put us at about $16,150. We have historically in the past kept this line, or tried to keep it at, well, I guess $15,000 for the last couple of years. We tried to pretty much match what we thought our estimated revenue coming in, and this is the third resurfacing line item that we have between the general fund, the MVH, and the LRS funds. Any discussion regarding this line item for LRS? Any questions for Superintendent Lyons?
Are you good with this, Aaron?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, Superintendent Lyons, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If it's fine with the council at this point, we've been here for 2 hours. Let's go ahead and take a 7-minute break stretch our legs, use the restroom, whatever we need to do. We'll come back here at 7:07 p.m.